Hello, peoples. This is gonna be what if Deku met Uraraka early. And real quick, let's get the disclaimers and shit out of the way. Simple, nice and short. I will not be uploading any other types of what ifs to this channel or anything, basically, for the most part. So for the My Hero peoples, this is good, but also for the other people that do and don't want other what ifs, this will be in my Naruto Boss DK Naruto what ifs and Dragon Ball what's that shit called, bro? Dragon Ball Z, Boss DK of Dragon Ball Z what ifs. And I also do have a gaming channel, same name, just of gaming. So if y'all got any suggestions or whatever, feel free to leave it here. And I will most likely, take those suggestions and put them to the other channels. So hopefully, y'all like that. But let's get into this what if. All right. So I was debating on like how I was gonna, do it, like when will they meet, but I want it to be early enough to where it makes a difference. And since we don't know Deku's, situation, if he's rich or poor, we're just gonna say it happens when they're like kids. The reason I'm gonna do it as a kid is because I feel like this would have a very big impact on the story. So let's just say they're gonna be the typical, shonen kind of like stereotype where they're gonna be childhood friends in this version. And you might not think this would have, really big merits, but it actually does. So this is how it would work, right? It would work in such a way where they would grow up and they would, talk very often, but they won't go to the same schools. This is gonna work because of the interactions they have. Deku's gonna be crying one day, 4 years old, or maybe 5, it doesn't really matter. And he's gonna talk about how Kachan's bullying him and this type of stuff, and he's gonna find out that he's quirkless. Uraraka's gonna see this, and being how she is in the story and stuff, is she's gonna be like, "What's wrong, Deku?" Or she might, Deku, or I guess Midoriya. I don't know what you would call him yet. But she's like, Kachan's bullying me. He keeps saying Deku and I'm worthless and I'd never be a hero. And she's like, what's wrong with Deku? And basically the whole interaction they had in canon would pretty much be like the same thing that would happen here. It would just happen a lot earlier. She's like, but Deku can mean whatever, it meant. Like it means something, big body and shit, right? So with that being said, Deku's like, hear her say this and be like, "Oh right," and then Uraraka's like, "You don't need a fancy." Like I feel like she would really try to pep talk him, right? Even though she doesn't believe it. She's like, "But Deku, you don't need a fancy quirk, cause like I see you always looking at other people's quirks and you do that weird mumbling thing. And what if you became a hero without a quirk?" Now, Uraraka saying this, instead of Deku being a little bitch like it was in canon, we're going to have it to where, your boy Deku actually, takes this and runs with it, right? And he's like, oh, wait a minute, she's got a point. So Deku decides to spend, a good chunk of his time, training and doing push-ups, sit-ups, and drinking plenty of juice, all varieties. So, with that being said, Deku is actually, slowly but for surely becoming a lot more stronger. And with this being said, he eventually would get to the point where he's going to stand up to Bakugo because he's like, all right, nah. And with Uraraka around and them always interacting and always talking, and one, Deku's not going to be as flustered, as, uncomfortable when it comes to talking to females in general. Okay, and two, with Deku training, he's gonna train with Uraraka. And the reason I say this would be the case, right, is because as they're growing up, Deku's doing, push-ups, and he's, doing martial arts, and he's like basically doing a lot of stuff that's accessible instead of just crying in his book. That to this day, that never made sense to me, like in canon, when you literally could train your body, because like even people with physical quirks or Aizawas, like with all these heroes, on top of the fact that you look up to a whole bunch of heroes and you study them, it never registered for you to do physical training. And even a lot of like the big YouTubers and stuff that does these always like forget physicality. But enough with me going on my rant. So Deku does this, and him and Uraraka train. With them training, this will have some differences in later, because Uraraka doesn't really use her quirk nearly as effective, because she literally has like a one-shot kill quirk. Like, she could be real devious with it, even if she doesn't kill her opponent per se. Like, she could be devious with it, okay? So they're training, and I'd say they'd be like training and, around like the 10 age mark, right? And they're, getting pretty, more accustomed to it. Oh, I thought my drink fell. They're getting more and more accustomed to like training and focusing on things. Uraraka would focus like kind of like more on a grappler kind of like style, give or take. And Deku would focus more on, originally he was going to focus on punches, but then Uraraka would make a statement like, Deku, how come you're only using punches? Why don't you use your legs and stuff? I think I remember reading something in a magazine once that was saying like your legs are like 3 times stronger than your arms, or something to that effect. So this thus causes Deku to invent shoot style without it being, one for all. And so with that being said, Deku's, practicing his kicks and, his forms like that. He also tells Uraraka the same thing. Like, hey, instead of just focusing on grapples just because you're quirk, what if you learn how to use your legs too? Because if people know, like, once you become a pro hero, if people know, you got like a quirk, they gonna know what you do. So they gonna be like trying to avoid your hands. And Uraraka thinks about this too. So they basically have like a good, training session for a good little minute. Like they not training like that yet, all right? But they doing actual training for a good little minute, right? And their hands become excellent. Their teamwork becomes even better. Uraraka, uses her quirk to make herself lighter, so she's able to perform, different moves. Also, Deku also focuses on like, stretching and make sure his legs, are able to do things. He basically making sure his flexibility is like at like peak performance, due to the simple fact of, since he's gonna be, morally, basically relying more on his body than anything else, he needs to make sure he can throw hands, right? And so that's gonna happen. And Uraraka, on the other hand, is making sure that since Deku's there, they're going to basically help strengthen her quirk weakness, okay? Because of the simple fact is she vomits, there's going to be like little tricks and stuff they like try to come up with, like to basically prevent her from like vomiting everywhere. And they're going to help her control that. And she's going to slowly... She can't do it, but they both think with the, them putting their brains together, and Deku being, the quirk excessive individual that he is, and since, it was always going to be like this due to what the creator is saying, Deku would think, hey, Uraraka, would it be possible that you could do this without touching your hands together? And Uraraka would be like, wait, what do you mean? It'd be like, okay, think about it. And then he starts rambling, but short and simple of it is, we're going to say that potentially Uraraka's quirk, gravity and stuff is not inherently just because of her hands, right? Her hands is a template, or it's like a, let's say if she had electricity only on the tip of her fingertips, right? She doesn't inherently have electricity on her fingertips. She's just able to conduct it there. So in this theory, right? What if she's able to do that without her, her whole body, right? So this is basically making it to where she's able to fly and having, a whole bunch of other types of abilities, but the range would probably be, limited. This is what we would probably say a quirk awakening, without saying a quirk awakening, but due to, their training at an early age, and both of them, trying to get better, because Deku's focusing more on his physicality. And since Uraraka quirk revolves around her being close to someone, she kind of needs to work on that too. So this is how they bond and basically become even better friends, okay? Now, with that out of the way, we're not going to skip too far ahead because I don't know if I should give him one for all, because I'm thinking with the way Deku's been set up though so far, I don't think he would want to get one for all. But y'all can, put your comments down and give me some feedback, and let's go on to see what happens a little bit further. So now we could say about a year or so passes, and we got Deku, maybe, both, they're around the same age, I think. So, they're around 11 years, some more years pass, and simply put, they're doing even more training. It's really just a training montage for the most part. So nothing, big body happens. They just keep, stretching and keep working on their team combos and different things like that. But they do realize something. They're going to need, weapons. Because Deku's definitely gonna need some type of weapon due to the fact that people literally can shoot explosions out of their, face and all sorts of stuff like that. So what Deku decides to do is him and Uraraka, one, help out Uraraka with, the work at, their people's house. I mean, Uraraka's parents and stuff help them out with that. And since Deku is insanely strong in this one, not like All Might level or like, godhood level or anything like that, but he's a lot stronger than the average Joe, especially people for his age, right? He's gonna get to the point where he's like, all right, he's helping out fairly easy. It's almost like he's that one chick from Attack on Titan, Mikasa, and I think that's how you say her name. So after he helps out, they go try to find a weapon. And they go to this shop. They go to all these different shops, but the prices are too high. So they're just going out, spending basically most of the day looking around like, what the fuck we're gonna do. And then they eventually find this one, weird shop that's actually about to, be out of business or whatever. They walk up in there, and then a lot of people are talking about don't go in there. The shop will try to kill you, and it's haunted, and just a whole bunch of other, weird stuff, right? So Deku and Uraraka, they walk up in this bitch like, hey, we in this bitch, right? And then the second they walk in, both of them you know how Uraraka has that gun martial arts mode or whatever? She kind of does that. But instead of doing that, she does it briefly, but she fixes the gravity within a small radius. And when she does that, Deku immediately lunges off and springs kind of around almost Gran Torino almost, but not on his level per se. And then he immediately punches the person that he presumes that did that, while Uraraka gets out of the way, and all they hear is clapping, right? And some old dude comes out, you know how they do in the martial arts movies and shit. Old dude come out there I see. Real niggas have appeared here. Who obviously wouldn't say that, but we gotta add the DK-ness to this video. And he's like, real niggas have appeared. Everyone else gets scared. Even though I lowered it and it wouldn't have actually made full contact, but it's actually good someone actually passed the test. And Deku and Uraraka, relax their guard, but they're still on guard. What the fuck just happened? So the old dude comes out and be like, he turns on all the lights basically. And he's like, welcome. I have many different weapons, and I'm not gonna say he's Chinese. I'll just say he's Chinese and Japanese. Goddamn it, just to get both of burst worlds, because I don't want to say something that's one thing or another thing. Anyways, so he's like, yeah, it's been a long time since I've actually been able to train someone. And my life is gonna pass pretty soon. I've lived for, let's just say, he has a quirk that allows him to live longer. He's just one of those OG quirkless niggas. It don't even matter. All right. He's like, I've lived for about 200 years. I've only had a few students that come to this shop. So, I presume you're looking for weapons. Let me guess. The weapons are too expensive? Too much for you? Budget's low? Yeah. When I made this shop back in however many years ago, I made it with the mind frame of people like you. Now, let me see. You're quirkless, and you got a quirk that has to do with gravity. Both of your bodies seem well trained, but it seems to be lacking. Come to the back of my shop. Uraraka and Deku nod at each other, walk to the back of the shop. And you would see a whole bunch of different, martial art related items. This is where I've trained any pupils that I've had briefly. So, let me ask you, are you ready to be trained? And Uraraka and Deku are actually puzzled, like, wait, what? We don't have any money or any, he said, who said I'm charging you? But don't worry, after the training's done, y'all both will get weapons of your desire. And that's where we're going to leave this video off. If you made it this far, thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate you. Love yes. Also, don't forget to check out my other channels. Also, my Twitch is BossDK23. The link will be down in the description. It's a one link, send you everywhere you need to go. Catch y'all niggas later. If you want to see that footage live. Yeah. What's up with the peeps? What if Deku met Uraraka early part 2? We left off with your boy and Uraraka confused, like gang shit, right? They pull up on this old man. This old man pull out like this weird little training area. They all confused and shit, but long story short, old man was like, yeah, most people get scared and run away anytime I try to train them. But y'all didn't. I was the only people that able to react. And kids were such a young age. Most boaster about how they want to be heroes and this and that, but only a handful of people have actually got my training. Some prefer knives in close combat because it suits the quirks. Others prefer weapons of long range. It all just depends. But most people don't have that fortitude, that real desire, that true heroism. But y'all do. So I'm willing to train them. And Uraraka and Deku are actually kind of confused. They're like, oh, we don't have any money. He said, who said anything about money? I had one student. I didn't really agree with his philosophy, but his heart was in the right place. I believe if I'm going to change this hero society, it would be baby steps. I don't know how much longer I got to live, but I'll live for the time that I have and use that time to train people, help them out, teach them what I know. Free of charge. And Uraraka and Deku said shit. They said shit, say less, huh? They did the training. They got ready. They said, let's go. Simply put, all right? So with this being said, they do everything they would do during, their normal day. Go to school, all that type of stuff. And then meet up there to do their training. And I'm going to go ahead and just say, like, it's summer. But once again, they're around that 11, 12 mark. So they're not even at, like, their peak, okay? And so they start this training. This training is something devious, all right? Uraraka and Deku, they exhausted every day, bruh. They parents get a little concerned or whatever when they're hanging out at each other's places and stuff, right? Because of the simple fact, they're like, damn, y'all good? Y'all leave for a little bit, come back better than abused. They thought they was doing some weird freaky shit on the low and stuff. And nah, they was like, nah, we was training. And like, big body training. Like, we found this sensei dude, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, oh, how much does he charge? He don't charge none at all. It's a little uncomfortable. But long story short, they presume they're training, dog. They keep it going. Because summertime came around the corner like, hi, how are you? And so they come around and, bro, they doing their training all day, every day. And hell, they even, like, stopped coming back home for a little bit. They talked to their parents and all that stuff. And let's just say they got that cleared up. They over there for like I don't know how long summer is for Japanese, but I'm going to just presume it's around that 3-year mark. Deku's really smart, so they would do their summer homework, which whoever made that is an asshole. But they do their summer homework, and they get all that stuff taken care of in like the first week or two. And then they begin basically, fighting as per usual, all right? So they start throwing quality hands, you hear me? So they start training on like these wooden dummies where it's like, you hit it, it goes one way, it has like, it's like that thing Bruce Lee trained on, for those that know. But long story short, they train and get dummy strong. And Uraraka and Deku proceeds to fight. But they don't fight each other too often because they're kind of tired already. anytime they get done basically hitting themselves against a wooden boards and all this other unique training methods and all these unique things that Sensei tells them come to this room, and this room's like a room filled with 2 tubs filled with some weird liquid. And he's like, you might want to take your clothes off. It's gonna practically disintegrate your clothes or whatever. And then Uraraka and Deku looked at each other, nodded, and said, all right, let's get it. And so they both hopped into this tub, and then immediately their bodies started getting like convulsing and shocking, But he's like, now I know y'all can hear me clearly. Don't worry, I didn't play no tricks on you. I didn't kill you. This is just a special remedy I made a long time ago for unique individuals like yourselves. It's very hard to do this training in regular sense, so this will help you speed up your recovery time. It's very painful going in, but once you come out, you're going to be a whole different animal. And this process will repeat, but basically they're convulsing, being real confused, and then after like 5 minutes or so of just pure weird pain or whatever, they eventually, be good, and then they step out or whatever. Once they step out, and they, put their clothes back on, or they would have like some special gi, I guess. I gotta find like, I might have to like look up a picture or something, because I might put that picture there or something. I don't know. But they would have like some special gi that they put on, and he's like, all right, come over here. And then they begin doing different stretches, stretching out their body and stuff like that. He's like, all right, now let's see here. Uraraka, was it? Even though he would probably call her by her first name, I think that's her. I don't know. Uraraka, was it? What's your quirk? And then she would explain her quirk, 0 gravity, but she learned how to train it to where she's actually able to affect more parts or more things around her versus just only being able to touch things. That still would be the stronger go-to, but it's not like an absolute. Like, she's still able to affect gravity within a like small like weird radius, okay? And if she strains herself, which this is where her weakness comes in, if she strains herself or goes a little stronger, she can do things out of her radius, okay? So basically her weakness in canon is still applicable, but it's just at a much higher degree, okay? Now Deku would talk about how he doesn't have a quirk, so he primarily focuses on like movement and ways to counter people with such things, and he kind of has an issue because when it comes down to fighting someone at a range, he kind of can't reach them. That's kind of a problem. And then Sensei laughs and he's just chuckling like, I see, okay, all right, well. They continue their stretching, and then after they're done with that, even though I just said that already, he's like, all right, time to show y'all some breathing techniques. And they're all like, okay. And so they begin these breathing techniques, and we won't talk about what happens during these breathing techniques. So that happens, and then the summer passes, and this would, rinse and repeat all the way up until around that 14-15 mark, where we'd be around the point of the canon timeline of when, Deku's introduced and all this other stuff. So, they basically completed the training, okay? Like, the training's done. They it's not like it's like their max. Basically, it's like he gave them a solid foundation, so all they got to do now is just practice everything that they taught. Deku would once again look a good bit bulkier than he did in canon. Also, Uraraka would have more of a feminine, muscular physique, not like Big Debo or anything like that, but she has a nice physique herself. And also, for future note, her hero costume is going to look so much better than it did in canon. Like, that's deplorable. It's more sleeker. It's got more of a better design, okay? But we'll worry about that later. So everything happens almost like it did in canon. They see some heroes, this and that. Bakugo, continues his berating of Deku. Deku just brushes it off, like, all right, whatever, dog. And then he reads something. Bakugo tries to take his comment, but Deku doesn't let him do that. He's like, no, buddy, no. And Bakugo's like, what, are you trying to stand up to me? And then Deku just raises his hand. Bakugo's messing with me. Can you tell the dude to stop? And Deku just calls him out, like to call the teacher out. Like, even though I'm quirkless and stuff, I shouldn't be getting, mistreated like this. This isn't fair. This isn't right, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, Bakugo, please leave Midoriya alone. And he's like, whatever, I'm gonna kill you, nerd. And he's like, yeah, I'm still alive. And yeah, pretty much that. None of the go kill yourself and all that shit. Deku decided he wanted to meet with Uraraka a little early so they can go grab something to eat, and then they're gonna talk about, the upcoming, grace period for the entrance exam to, what's that shit called? UA. And this is gonna, be relevant because, Sludge Villain pulls up. Deku turns it around. Well, Deku already knew this nigga was pulling up. He's like, alright. Sludge Villain polite, you got a nice spot. Man, he said, but I started hitting this dude at his same speed, right? Not like All Might or anything like that, but just enough speeds to make his sludge basically get pushed back and get broken up into pieces and shit, right? And so that shit gets pushed back into different pieces, and the Sludge Villain's like, you're stronger than I thought, kid. No matter, the stronger the body, the better the control, or something weird like that and shit, right? Deku's like, alright, bet. He starts to inhale, exhale, and then you see his breath, and then he's like, alright, go ahead, I'll show you some. I've been wanting to try this anyways. This is a little too high level. I want to try my other stuff, but since your body is a little weird, let me just... God. And then before he finishes that, you literally hear, I am here. And Deku's like, well, he can handle it. And then, All Might comes through, beats the villain in one shot, blah, blah, blah. And then Deku's like, yeah. Deku doesn't climb on him and ask, hey, can I be a hero and all this type of stuff? Instead of doing that, Deku's like, All Might. All Might's like, yes, my boy. Deku takes a stance, almost reminiscing to Goku. Post up, nigga. He's like, excuse me, sir, what do you mean? Throw these hands, and then Deku launches at All Might. Does some light combos. He's like, he's looking down at All Might because he's in the air at the moment. He's like, yeah, okay, you block that. Boom. He starts blitz speeding this dude, where he's moving in multiple spots at once. And All Might's like, what's the meaning of this? He's like, simple. I'm a hero in training. Throws a good punch. All Might gets pushed back, but not breaking the wall, just enough to press him against it with a good amount of force. And All Might's like, no, it's we don't need to. He's like, it's simple. If you hurt me, it's okay. I want to see how far my power is reaching. He's like, very well then. Just remember, you asked for this, kid. He's like, Deku pulls up on Might. And the fight proceeds, very briefly, but it does happen. All Might realizes that his time's gonna go, so he's like, I'm gonna put an end to this. So he starts throwing out a whole bunch of barrages of punches, right? Bam! Right? And then Deku gets, knocked back a little bit, and he's like, As he's getting knocked back, he catches himself. It almost looks like he's floating. And then he's like, okay, so this base level of power is not strong enough, so I would have to crank it up a bit. But I wonder if I could just try. He starts the exhale again. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna hit this hole today. And then before he gets to finish the goddamn sentence or the word, whatever he's trying to say, right? All Might's like, all right, that's enough. Catch you later. All Might dips. Deku is puzzled. He's like, oh no. We don't run away from this smoke. Come here. He changes the way his breathing pattern, and then his legs kind of weirdly expand, while his body expands ever so slightly, and then poof, right? And then starts bouncing off the walls. All Might's like, yeah, I'm sorry, kid. It seems like you had some potential there, but I can't let you. And then Deku's right next to All Might while they're in the air, and All Might's like, what the? How is this kid up here with me? He's looking dead at All Might buddy, you won't get this reference, but I'm Drake, baby. Free smoke. Good hands. And then All Might eventually lands, and Deku lands, but it's weird because it's almost like Deku was standing on air, If you may, like he land. Don't get me wrong, he landed on the building, but it looks like he's floating, and then Deku twists his body in a weird way, and then like takes a stance, and he's looking at him like, yeah, Bucko, now catch this fade. And then All Might's like, Midoriya, or I guess he wouldn't say young Midoriya yet, but young Midoriya, calm down. And then Deku's about to pull up, and then before he pulls up, he sees smoke, and Deku gets scared. He's like, oh no, how does he know this move? Deku immediately takes like a different stance. It's either would be a block or it would be a block with one hand, and like it's like he's almost about to try to attack or something with the other hand. And then, poof, we get Small Might. That's where we're gonna leave this part off. Hey, if y'all liked it, let a nigga know something. Comment down below, all that good shit. Also, I do want y'all to check out my other channels, my gaming channel, and, shit like that. The link will be down below in my description and potentially the pinned comments. I don't know. I might be lazy and I want to do all that. But I digress. And my Naruto channel, if y'all got any Naruto or Dragon Ball Z what ifs, let a nigga know. I am considering doing some more Krillin what ifs. And yeah. Catch y'all. What's up with the peeps? What if Deku met Uraraka early, part 3? Alright, so in part 2, we pretty much simply left it off with Deku seeing Small Might. So the whole incident with all that happened. Now, we made it to play pretty much similar to how it did in canon, where the way of how everything played out happened. So they would talk for a little bit. All Might would talk about his injury, and then Deku would be like, oh, is it that one thing? And All Might would be surprised the kid knew about that fight alone, but he digresses. So with some, discussions and words and going back and forth and stuff, they, talked, and then Deku just like, yeah, all right, cool. And eventually they just dipped. And All Might was potentially thinking like, oh, I might have a successor, blah, blah, blah. Now, everything that happened originally, where the Sludgeland attacks, and all sorts of shit starts to go crazy. Yeah, so that shit happens, right? And with that shit happening, Deku sees this shit, and he's like, damn, he had a flashback when he was fighting All Might. He saw the bottle, but he didn't pay much mind to it because he was trying to throw hands and also maintain his altitude the right way. He didn't want to fuck up his landing like he did during his training. Damn, that shit hurt. So, without any a moment's notice, it almost looks like this nigga's air walking. And Deku just... And he's like... And then, he, cups his hands together and then, starts breathing. He cups his hands behind him. He starts breathing and then he says, Ki! Or he'll just, scream really loud. And when he exhales and screams really loud, a good chunk of the fire that was in the surrounding area gets reduced dramatically. He's like, whew, okay, I got it. Need to get better control on it. Okay. He's like, I got a cool move, but that was bad. Didn't do that the right way. So when that happens, immediately, the sludge villain's like, it's you. So he tries to control Bakugo a lot faster, but Deku's like, okay, you know what? One of my favorite moves, and a move I personally made. To this day, I don't know if I made it 100% or if I saw Luffy take the stance one time when I was younger. I don't know. But basically, short and simple, it's similar to flying. I don't know what Luffy move is, pistol gum or something like that. But basically, Deku extends one hand out while cocking back the other hand. And he says, flying impact. Puts his hand back and forth and then... And Bakugo, gets pushed back ever so slightly. While the sludge villain is, in a flood of goo. And he just towers over the sludge villain like... You thought this shit was Skittles, huh? What do you mean? You thought this shit was sweet? Basically, long story short, Deku picks him up and tosses him to one of the villains. And when one of the heroes tries to say, oh, you should have did that, that was... He hits the dude without, anyone realizing it. He just waves his hand and pass... just waves his hand. Bakugo looks very intently wait, was that? And then the hero was like, all right, before you get knocked out, let me tell y'all something. Y'all just sat there and did shit jack nothing. Hell, y'all could have at least called for the fire department. Even though you did, you could have still tried to do something. Water bottles, anything. He points over to multiple people with water bottles or some type of liquid in their hand. This would have been better than nothing. If you got all this together and threw it at the sludge villain in the surrounding area, it might have been different. But no, you want to take your time and praise the person that made the problem even worse by being a retard and activating his quirk in such a flammable area. And like he is just going on these niggas' heads, bro. Neck meat wasn't safe that day. Episode bad. These niggas mad, alright? Now you already know All Might's gonna pull up, but this time it's gonna be different because Uraraka was heading to where she heard the commotion because she heard people talking about like a green-haired boy and this and that. And she got really, scared. Like, oh shit, is my nigga good? Like, Deku, you okay? And so Uraraka pulls up and she meets him halfway. All Might pulls up and he begins talking about the quirk as per usual, and I can give it to you. And Uraraka busts out laughing. Right? And All Might's visibly confused. And he's like, he wouldn't take it. He wouldn't take that if it was meaning to save anyone's life. Like, she's basically saying he a real nigga. He not about to, like, bend towards society and spread his cheeks and say, oh, yes, please give me a quirk, sire. Like, he's not about to do that, all right? And so with that said, All Might's surprised, and Deku pretty much says the same thing. And then Deku says, oh, by the way, All Might, when we were fighting, he takes off his shirt and like he unzips his pants, which All Might's visibly, concerned. And then so he has his shirt up and like has like his pants down, down like his waist, and shows that he's been wearing weighted, he's wearing a weighted vest or like 2 weighted plates. Almost like it's like Goku's really, but it's on his like upper torso and lower torso, and then he has like specially designed shoes and stuff. Basically, his whole body is weighted. He said when we fought originally in canon, All Might, not in canon, but when we fought originally, I was weighted down. By the way, oh, don't get me wrong, I know you wasn't going out, but neither was I. And All Might is like, he's like, fuck. So he really want to make this dude a success even more now. But, I digress. And yeah, that's pretty much how that happens. And then we would have, the time period of them training, which you would just get like a little short montage of them training together. And they would not clean the beach, but they would pass by the beach and see All Might and see a purple dude. I mean, a dude with, purple balls on his head. And then they're kind of curious, like, what's going on over here? So they pull up over here and just be like, yeah, what's going on over here? And, the dude with the, ball on his head is Monetto. And he's like, oh, shucks, someone found out, or, something like that. And then, All Might's like, don't worry, my child. They already know. And he's like, wait, but I thought you were your top secret. I don't know how that dude talks, but you know how you got the list. He's like, yeah, but he originally was going to be the person I picked. But then he saw it. So what happened, right, was he saw, Deku. He was thinking, damn. And he saw Shop, people trying to be, heroic and all this. The Shop tried to kill him. Same Shop that Deku and Uraraka went to. But the difference here is this version of Monetto was one. He was fed up with being small, weak, and insignificant, right? So what he did, right, was he heard about this shop. Like, if you go in and you live through the training, you'll become really strong. So he had his, grapes with him, and he was ready. He walked in, ready to do whatever he had to do. The thing hit him, and he actually got paralyzed in fear. But on the outside, it looked like he stopped because he knew it wasn't going to hit him. And then the dude was like, very well. There's only been same spill he gave Uraraka and Deku. And then the training begins, and All Might, was very complex about this. But something in his gut told him to come back here tomorrow. So during his very short time of being able to be a hero, he decides to come back. and it sees that, the kid, or we'll say like a week or something during this training time period passed, or a week or two, and then he sees the kid again. But this time, this kid's a little more muscular, and just a little more taller. Okay, and All Might's baffled, right? He's like, what type of training did he do? And once again, when the sensei trains people, he trains them in different ways, so they're not just gonna learn one particular thing or one set thing where everyone learns the same thing, because when he puts them into that weird liquid, it activates their DNA and allows them to tap into their physical peak. It's more like unlocking your potential without unlocking your potential, and it's a gradual process similar to how it is in the show. And it's going to be to where it's like it allows you to basically be the best physical version of yourself. Then on top of that, he's only able to give you the baseline because he himself was never able to go beyond that. So this is why he trains other people and say, look, this is all I can teach you. I can teach you this. After that, you got to go figure out what you're going to do on your own. So then, All Might talks to this boy, talks about his goals and ambitions, and due to him being, trained and having some more discipline, he admits, I want to be a hero. I would love to, I don't have no problem protecting and serving and helping people, but I just want to hear him. Like, at the end of the day, once I'm done with my heroicness and stuff, I'm going to sit back, have him, and die peacefully. And All Might kind of laughs, but being honest is the true, quality of a hero. And sawing, even if it was briefly, sawing how he just walked in there with no fear in his eyes and knew the trap wasn't going to hit. That takes real heroism or real courage. Now we would flash back to the present, and then they would talk about that story. Deku and Uraraka are not impressed, but they'll let it be. And then they'd be like, well, since you got the same training from the same person, we got the same training from. Almost makes us, what is it, like brothers in arms or something? Or like siblings of the same student or something like that. And Deku offered to fight, but Uraraka's like, nah, let me fight him. Right? And then they would begin to fight. And the hands are actually, and this monetto is a lot taller, okay? Ugh. He's a lot taller, and, he's got a lot better physique overall, and the fight begins. They're throwing some decent hands. And Uraraka's like, and he throws out a smash, like 5%, I guess. And it doesn't really do too much, okay? And so it does all right, but it doesn't really, it hits Uraraka. Uraraka's like, damn, the only time I've been hit this hard is when I'm fighting Deku. And Deku like cries in the background, please don't say it like that. It sounds wrong, or it'll be like, a joke on that type of manner. And then he like splits his past her, hits her in the back, and then she cries. She's like, God damn it, the only time I was in the back like that. And yeah, you already know the joke. And Deku's like, please stop saying that. It sounds wrong. People are going to get the wrong idea of Uraraka. The fight basically presumes as normal with, more innuendos and jokes of such matter where it's like, I don't know, man. And then, when the fight's, over because, the fucking Green Rush nigga, he eventually, was about to put too much power in it. All Might was about to stop him, but Deku comes in and seemingly almost like he stopped the hand without touching it. He like rotates both, he rotates it similar to how Kakashi did with the Naruto and Sasuke, and he like redirects it, but at a weird distance. And then redirects the punch and stuff, and he helps Green Rush with that because he kind of like trips him, so the momentum of all that doesn't like backfire and hurts him. And then they talk about it, they have a discussion, and then they tell him like, dude, you don't have to just use your arms, right? I presume you've only been training with such and such for this amount of time, so if that's the case, you probably haven't finished the training. But think about it more like this. Instead of trying to only cook one spot or one place, being concentrated, well, how about you spread the heat throughout it evenly like you're cooking? He would use the reference from Gran Torino, but he would just, have that knowledge due to the training. And then, Green Rush would be like, Grape Rush would be like, oh, yeah, that makes more sense. And then develops a Grape Rush. And then a power of lightning surges through him. It's unconfirmed if people can see this, but this is what the audience sees. And then he's like, all right, now gradually build it up and see where you can stop at. Since he had prior training, and on top of training with the All Might, and on top of this not even being his full peak, we're going to say that he's able to go around that 8% mark, okay? And yeah, he's like, yeah, this is so much better. Now if I crank it up to 10, it's going to be a real issue, but I can manage, but with some strain. So work on, and then Deku, suggests, and Uraraka pipes in with this too, but it's like, all right, work on 5%, get that to where that's your base level, and then keep cranking it up, and then keep making that your base level until you're at 100% of your power, blah, blah, blah. More talk, and yeah. And then we would plan over to where they're about to do the entrance exams, and yeah, they would walk in, and that's where we leave the video off. You know what to do. Like, share, all that good stuff. And yeah, if y'all want to see this gameplay live, y'all know where to go. BossDK23 on Twitch. Or just go down to the link. It sends you to all my channels, even the ones I don't have videos for yet. Catch y'all later.